And then I'm going to have you check. All right. Okay. All right. So we're live. I think we're live on what? Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Yep.
So if you're popping on, I'm going to check my phone real quick. Put in the chat, please, where you are watching from. Let us know where you are watching from. So please put in the comments. And we're going to give it a minute or so for people to get, logged in.
I have confirmation. We are indeed live.
All right, that's good. Okay, excellent. All right, yeah, there we go. All right, Marcus, hi. Marcus, where are you watching from? Thanks for joining us. Where are you watching from? What state, what country, what city, whatever you want to share. And whoever else that pops on, just want to know where you're watching from. And Marcus, I know he's on LinkedIn. So we're going to give it about a minute or so.
Yeah, it's 1:00. Oh, we just turned 1:01.
1:01, okay.
Yeah. So we're going to give you 60 seconds. We'll go to 1:02.
Yeah. For our conversation today on team morale.
Yes.
And culture and motivation.
Yes.
So we want to hear from folks too who are watching. Toronto, Canada. Hey, Andrea. Hey, that's my middle name. So hi. Hi, Andrea, fellow coach. So Andrea, you're going to be, I'm sure I'm going to get good questions from you, Andrea, because you are working in this space. So I'm sure you'll have some good questions and some good feedback too. We'll give it another 30 seconds and then we're going to jump on. If you guys are coming on late, you can be team replay, right? We will honor those who are here early and not drag this out too long.
Yeah.
So 1:02, we'll jump in. All right.
See, Andrea says hi.
Did you share a piece yet? I was going to 30
No.
seconds. And okay. I'm going to jump on. I'm hearing my own self. You guys are coming on late. Okay, so, all right. So once we share that real quick, Wayne, we're going to get started. And just hit post. All right, so Marcus didn't tell us where he's watching from. Andrea, you're here. So let's get the show on the road. Real quick, I'm Sharon Gill for those of you who don't know me or on my page, so that should help. And this is my partner in crime and husband of 35 years, Wayne, who decided to crash my life today because he felt like it's best for him to ask me some questions. So we're going to jump in to your first question, Wayne. And we're talking about, team morale, team motivation. And the reason why I picked this topic is because I have a poll on my pages. I've run 2 pages on here, this page and purpose-centered leadership as well. And the question was, what are the biggest pain points for CEOs right now? And team morale and team motivation came up as number 1. So I thought, let me address this topic again for the second time in a year. I addressed this already last year during the pandemic. So we're going to address it again this year.
Yeah. So you're talking about team morale, Sharon, and culture today. Well, what qualifies you to talk to the audience about team morale and culture? Well,
so I've been a CEO for years. I've been a COO, I've been a CFO, I've been a founder, and of course, I've been an employee of a Fortune 500 company. So I come from many different perspectives. And so that's really my background. And I coach CEOs and founders as well. And this is one of the main pain points I'm seeing. And there are quite a few different reasons for this. We'll get into some of those. But that's my background.
Right. And we're kind of reverse engineering it because we're talking about team culture, which is what people pointed out as the biggest issue, right? And so one of the things that everyone is experiencing is every month we get this report that another 4 million or whatever, 4+ million people have left their jobs. And I know that as a CEO and, some of the CEOs who we work with are frustrated beyond all get out, because how can you plan for the future? How can you build your company or build your vision if people are just walking out of jobs. So I think what we have to figure out is, why are they leaving?
Yeah. And
what are some of the reasons you see?
And Wayne, people are always leaving jobs, but over the last 2 years, it just seems like it's just been multiplied exponentially, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of factors. I mean, we've heard about some of the common factors are mental health, and people feel like they have options right now and they don't want to take it anymore, and all this great stuff, right?
Well, before you go on, can we break that down a little bit? You kind of said a lot there. First, you mentioned mental health.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on that? How is mental health playing into this exodus from the traditional workplace?
Well, people over the last, I would say, especially the last 5 years, I think mental health has become less of a taboo subject, right? We're talking about it a lot more now, and people are feeling freer to express that, hey, I'm burnt out, I'm not satisfied, I'm anxious, I'm having depression, I'm angry. And they're not willing to continue into a situation or a relationship that's going to further, right, create those issues in their lives. And so when the pandemic happened and there was that government help, people took that option as an out, right? To like step back. Once they stepped back and once work began to go virtual, people felt like, I'm feeling better. This is better. Now, there are some who are going to argue that the pandemic did create some mental health issues in and of itself,
right?
However, for the most part in the workplace, people were able to step back and analyze their lives, where they were, how they were being treated, and there was a higher level of self-awareness. So that's been a big issue.
Yeah.
And as a parent, as you know, we have 2 kids, 28 and 29. And we also observe how they view work, right? And they don't view work the way we viewed work at their age, right?
Yeah.
They feel like they will have more choices and they have more options and they want to exercise those, right? So you have that playing, right, as part of the exodus.
Right.
In addition to that, we have CEOs and leaders and founders who are not yet willing to embrace this new culture. They're still trying to work in the old model, right? Of how we do things, top down, not participatory, and it's not working. And so they're not holding on to their people because they're not understanding their people. They're not understanding where we are as a whole right now in the country, in the world. Yeah. This different consciousness. So they're losing because they're using old practices with a new, a new dynamic. So that's like scratching the surface. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons I could go into, but like in other words, I've seen people on my posts say things like, those people who are leaving, those employees, they're like snowflakes.
Right. Yeah. Get rid of them. Let them go.
Let them go. Yeah. And I can tell you, if that's the attitude of a lot of CEOs and founders, you're not going to have anyone, because everyone's feeling like a snowflake. Then if that's the case, right? And and so I think what we have to do as CEOs and founders is to like stop, have conversations, Wayne, communicate, hear what the issues are. I believe that companies could stem more of the tide of people leaving if they just took the time to stop and say, where you at? Yeah. Where are you? Where are you at right now? Right. And try to be a problem solver, solutions solver right here. But they're not doing that, right? They're not doing that. It's CEOs tend to be busy, harassed, and not working as much on their business. They're trying to work in the business. They're wearing CEO hats, CFO hats, COO hats, chief marketing officer hats. Meanwhile, the granular stuff is not being taken care of, like team development, people development, leadership development for your team. Right. And when I was an employee with a Fortune 500 company, one of the things that I remember was just the absolute joy of going to work. The environment was
that's interesting.
It was joy.
You're
loved my job.
You're expressing joy in going to work for a Fortune 500 company, where from a lot of things I see online now, people are saying we're like running away from that, right? So explain to me, why was it joyous?
And I'm old, okay? So it's right here. I'm old.
Oh, but why was it joyous? Why was that job such a joy for you?
It was the environment. It was a culture. It was a culture of people development. It was a culture where, if you wanted to advance, there were opportunities for you, right?
Right.
And I remember in my first year with this company, being given opportunities to attend certain classes, even in management, right? And leadership as a 22-year-old person. It was just that environment where you felt like you look around and people were being promoted all the time, right? And you were given chances to grow. There were rewards, both monetarily and just prizes for you getting ahead, accomplishing certain things.
Yeah.
So you felt like you wanted to go to work, and everyone in the workplace felt the same way. Like it was like a really thriving community. And I think, for the small business who don't have a lot of resources, right? What are they to do?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, and I feel it for the small business owner. I feel it for that because they think they can't afford to give your employees personal development training, but they can, right? They really can. They really can. Because when we were a small company, we did that, right?
Sure.
There are online classes that you can pay for. That's not too much money that you can make available for even your small staff, right?
Yep.
And sometimes it doesn't have to be a course in exactly what they're doing right now. It could just be a course that makes them feel better, right? So that they feel they're in a thriving, growing environment.
Right. Or something that they aspire to.
Yes. Right. Yes. So I don't know if who was watching, but if there's any questions, from Andre or anyone, please feel free to ask the question and any question. But as we go along, and I would say too, part of what CEOs miss, Wayne, especially in the smaller companies, is, like I said, they're trying to wear multiple hats, right? Right. But I would say if you are a CEO or in a company of even, let's say, 5 employees, you plus 5, my advice would be to identify the leader of that group of 5, invest in that leader, invest in that person, to become a leader, and let them lead the remaining 4, rather than you trying to lead 5. Because if you're working so much in your business, you're not working on your business. Yeah. So I'm just saying, Sharon, you keep on highlighting all the top issues. The fear of change. So many people are afraid of what they will lose. True leadership training, getting ahead. How many companies dropped training and succession planning? Succession planning. How many companies? Good question.
How many companies do it in the first place, Andrea? Right? And then for the ones who actually do it, how many of those companies dropped it?
Andrea, I'll tell you, succession planning is so rare in companies, and it shouldn't be. And I think the reason for that is because of insecurity of the leader, right? Yes, it's rooted in insecurity, I believe, because when you have a succession plan, you're saying, really, I won't be here at all the time, right? And so I'm going to bring you up.
Yeah, here's my planned replacement.
Here's my planned replacement, and it takes a truly confident leader to have that. And so, Andre, in the first place, we didn't have a lot of companies doing that, and training is not enough. I do not see a lot of companies spending money on training, and it's sad because it's not that expensive to give your people training. When we ran our law practice years ago, we had a little online thing called ABC University. I think it was like $30 per course, and we were able to point our people there to learn how to do Excel spreadsheets, learn how to write better grammar, learn how to do Word, and it could be as basic as that. Yeah. And yes, it can get as complicated as sending them to a leadership seminar. But really, if you, as a COO or a CEO or a founder, if you have a culture of training, don't think about the money, because you can start, even LinkedIn, you can, there's training on LinkedIn that you can offer to your people for a small fee, so that your employees feel valued. Yeah. I always say this to my clients: your employees are the most valuable asset that you have. And a lot of people don't really see it that way, but it really is that way, because if they all leave, which is what we're seeing now, the company struggles. There's this other dilemma at play here, Wayne.
Yeah.
Someone wrote on my post that they're offering high salaries,
right,
for people, right, for new hires, and they're still not getting people to come on board.
Wow.
Why is that?
They can't buy the talent even.
That?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because people yes, while money is a big issue,
right,
people are not looking at quality, like hours, flexibility.
Hybrid opportunities.
Hybrid opportunities.
Remote opportunities.
Remote. They're looking at what's the my trajectory here in this company.
And culture too. I imagine too. They're going to look very hard at the culture.
Very hard at culture.
Yeah.
Because they're not trying to get out of a frying pan into a fire.
Right.
Right. So they're looking hard at culture. So people will even take less money if they can get these things.
Yeah.
So it's not just money thrown at people. It's what is the culture of your organization?
Yeah.
That they can see from the outside.
Yeah.
From the outside. So how can people see the culture from the outside? Well,
you can, yeah.
You can.
Yeah. It's apparent.
It is. It's what you say. It's what people are saying about you on Glassdoor or whatever.
Right.
It's all of these things.
It's even the environment itself.
Yes.
As you mentioned that, I remember many, many years ago, I was in a career transition and I was working for a big corporate concern. And I went to interview with a similar concern. Mm-hmm. And I remember walking into the place and it was like deja vu.
Yeah.
I mean, just the vibe, the layout, the people, the dress, the attitude, just everything was so similar that I immediately said, okay, I'm not going to hit repeat.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so even for more money or whatever the trappings were, it just wasn't worth it to repeat what I guess what they would say, the devil you already know.
Yeah, no. And people now, it's all about self.
Yeah.
And look, it's not bad. It's all about self, right? Because for too long, it's been all about the dollars.
Right.
It's been all about, everything
or about the
else.
company. Let me deny myself.
And now it's all about self. So how do employers bridge that gap? And I'm telling you, it's communication, because what does self mean?
Yeah.
What does self mean to you? Because my value system will be different from your value system, right? And so having those open conversations and then being willing to make the changes is what's gonna keep your team.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been seeing. And those employers who are having those conversations, they're seeing, less of the departures.
That's what I was going to ask you. Maybe we could leave that that CEO that's maybe it's at the Fortune 500 level, but maybe at a small business level, right?
Yeah.
What are some of those? What are some tips that you can leave with them? I mean, you've already talked about training, right? Investing in the employees' training. Mm-hmm. You talked about mental health. What are some nuggets that the CEO can take away and say, okay, if tomorrow I begin to do this with my group, it's going to show that I care, or it's going to make a real impact on the business and on the retention of my good people.
Right.
Like what would those things be?
And I'll answer Andrew's question after your question.
Yeah.
So again, if you're a CEO of a really small company, I know your options tend to be more limited, right? And that's why you're wearing.
You feel like you got to jump.
You feel like you're wearing all these hats. But here's something that I say to CEOs. Even if you're a CEO of a small company, act like you're one of a big company, right?
That's good.
Project yourself into the future, because when you act like a small company CEO, you're going to have more problems. I remember when we started working together, right? Well, there's three of us, me, you, and an assistant. Yeah. And immediately we decided to split the duties. I became CEO, right? Even though I wasn't an attorney. And you're like, okay, I'm going to be the chief rainmaker, the legal guy. And we decided to split duties right away. And then our company grew up under us, right? So even if you are a CEO with 5 people, like I said earlier, invest in one of the persons and have them now become a manager. Start to think like you're a big company. Right. One of the things that I've been offering, and this is just really within the last year, Wayne, for the most part, I've been offering fractional COO services to some of my clients.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to be a CEO and a COO, and those are two different roles.
Right.
And so the CEO, you know, they're not able to work on the bigger things.
Right. Because they're in the
they're trying to do the small granular stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I've been offering the fractional COO stuff for like limited time, like 4 to 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Where, okay, I will come in and I will work with your team,
right.
with the culture,
right.
you know, with the team meetings,
right.
you know, with the strategy, with some of the hiring, so that you, CEO, can go bring the monies in,
yeah.
work on the vision, work
right.
on bringing in the mission,
right. work on the CEO level
things. Stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's an option. There are more and more of these opportunities nowadays. Like you were telling me, there's so many things you guys can delegate. Things like HR.
Yes.
You can get HR services for $99 per month. And
right.
why am I mentioning these services? Because the reason why we're having some of these products, because CEOs have their head down rather than they should be delegating stuff out there so that, you know, there's people handling your people well.
Right.
You know, like people need to feel like they have an HR person, right?
Yes.
And you don't have to hire one.
Right.
You can outsource that.
There's so much, you know, fractional services like that.
Yes.
Available now, you know,
absolutely.
whether in the HR and
absolutely
bookkeeping and financing, finances, you know,
absolutely.
Fractional COOs, fractional CFOs.
All of that stuff.
All of that. Even fractional CEOs. Really.
There is.
right.
Because some founders are not CEO material,
That's
right?
right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Right? Because there's certain skills that you
right.
need. And then another thing, I think
that's so powerful. Like kind of knowing your
skill set.
Yeah, that self-awareness of knowing your strength, what you're good at, and being able to key in on that, and having the courage, right, and the foresight to get someone else to execute on those areas that really you don't want to be bogged down.
Exactly. Exactly. And this will help to create that environment where, again, it feels like people are thriving. Right. Not bogged down and bogged up, but right. Thriving.
Right. Yeah, that joy you were talking about, and coming to the job, not hating the grind. Right.
Andres said, Sharon, you just highlighted another top issue, the singular focus on money versus a 360 system.
Right.
View of the company. Yes. And then Andres' great concept around fractional services versus consult. Yes, Andrew. And let me tell you, you know, it's been an evolution for me, right? In this whole 2 years, just trying to help CEOs and founders navigate, just been an evolution for me, because I saw the need with a lot of my clients that, gosh, they need a COO here.
Right.
All right. I'll lend them myself for 3 months or 4 months. And then it became part of what I know, what we now offer. But it's the demand is there because we have to find a way to assist CEOs and founders to do their jobs better so that the benefit can go to the team.
Yeah.
To the team. And one of the things love covers a multitude of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe, this is just me now, that when a CEO, founder, leader, when they truly love their people, when they truly love it, that the people are not just an employee.
Means to an end.
They truly love the people. I think that's when they will really lean into listen to the people's needs, right? Yeah. To make, and I know we have a business to run, but when you truly care for your people, then you know what their needs are, you know what their issues are, you know where they're having challenges even at home, right? Yeah. You know what their aspirations and dreams are. And if you can somehow help them, right, to meet some of those needs or help them to accomplish some of their own goals, add value to them, as they would say, right?
Right.
I really believe that companies wouldn't see so much turnover.
Right.
Would see so much turnover. That's what I'm seeing out there. That's what I'm seeing out there.
Yeah, I agree. I just, think that it's difficult and it requires leadership and it requires courage.
Yeah.
And it also requires the ability to stop, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing everything, right, then you're not going to stop. You're just like, in the morning comes and you've got your long list of things to do and you're just, But if you're able to step back and take a breath, then you can assess what's in front of you and make better decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I want to say, this to employees now. I've been talking about COOs and CEOs and what they need to do. And like I said, it's like an employees market, right?
Right.
Right. It's just like it was a housing market. It was like
right. Sellers market. Right.
Sellers market right now, right? And that's why homes are being offered for dollars over asking. And from what I'm hearing from some of these recruiters, people are getting dollars over what they're asking as well. But I would say this to employees, right? That you still have to be good.
Yeah.
Because at some point this will cool. Right. You still have to be good at what you do. You still have to be, dedicated. You still have to be sharp. This will probably not last, beyond 2 years. I mean, I'm not saying I'm an economist or anything like that, but we know that the housing market can't stay this long and, be this hot for so long until it's a job market. Right. And so, it still matters that employees are still developing their skills, bringing something to the table. Because
of course,
here's what you don't want as an employer, right? You don't want someone to pay top dollar for you, knowing that, you're asking for 85 an hour when you're truly worth 25.
Yeah, over promise and under deliver.
That resentment is going to be there. Yeah. That resentment is going to be there.
Yeah.
Andrea said the greatest secret to business success, be in service to. Yes, absolutely, to add value.
That's right.
And that goes both. What Andrea's comment is both ways. As an employee, don't take advantage of the situation. And I see employees. Right. I see employees doing that. Right. Taking advantage of the market right now, of the environment right now, but you're still there to add value to your boss, to your company. Yeah. And unfortunately, right now, being an employee's market, the onus is really on the leaders to become better.
Yeah. I think to become better. I'd like to just camp there for a second too, as well, Sharon, because I think that's a huge point that sometimes we miss.
Yeah.
That we look at it as this is a challenge, it's a bother, I'm banging my head against the wall, it's all negative.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, I think it's those CEOs and those leaders who are able to see it as an opportunity to kind of flip it and say, okay, this is challenging, it's hard, but how can my business be different? Like, how can this force me to be better?
That's right.
Right.
Great point. Yes, because it's how you look at it, right?
Right.
You can curl up and cry. You can call the employees snowflakes, like some employers are doing.
Yeah.
Or you can say, all right, we have a challenge. How can we all evolve?
Yeah.
Right. And that takes emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Situational leadership. Like, we're in a different situation right now.
Absolutely.
So practice situational leadership. What does this moment call for?
Yeah. Or what can it birth?
Yes.
What can this moment birth? Yeah.
A new service.
Yeah.
A new
business model.
New business model.
Yeah.
A new way of thinking for sure.
Yep.
Even to another thing too. Someone's asking, how can I find fractional employees? And I'll get to that. Sometimes as these smaller companies, and I mentioned the fractional work, they can offload some of the bigger, higher ticket things like HR, right?
Absolutely.
To a service, right?
That's right.
So that they have more money to do other key things, right? To more money to invest in key employees, more money to invest in strategic growth, more money to invest in leadership development.
Yes.
The word manager nowadays, folks, is like a bad word, okay? Because managers are leaders too. So, and that's what we're seeing. Lack of good leadership is leading to all of these departures. Yeah. I mean, how many times have we heard people complain like, my boss, my job, this? It's just a leadership issue. Yeah. It's a lack of leadership. And so if CEOs and CEOs have to be a little bit more, how should I put it, innovative now, right? Yes. To where they are offloading. And someone says, how do I find fractional employees? It depends on what you're looking for. There's a fractional employee for everything. Like I said, I started wearing the fractional COO hat at the beginning of this year because it's just based on needs from my clients. There are HR people. Yeah. There are marketing people. There's social media people. And that's how CEOs can counter the departure from their jobs. Hey, and not just that too. One thing I said last year is the same for this year. Because we're virtual, employees come from all over the world now. Right. Not just your geographic area. So there's a way to counter all of this departure.
I was going to suggest for that person who's asking about the fractional employees, You can find them on LinkedIn, right here on this platform. You can find them at Upwork.
Yep.
That's one. I was looking recently, working with a client on seeking some legal help, and there's a site called Up Counsel where you could go in and you could pick out your lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Just do a little research. There's lots of apps and platforms that can fill your various needs.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's even projects that you have, there are sites like there's one called Fiverr, right? Where you could go in and you could give a project. Maybe it's something that normally you would get into weeds and do. You need to, like a presentation or something, and you just need someone to come in as a technician and do slides. And there's a million of these apps and opportunities for you. So just do a little research on it, and you may grow to love some of these services.
Absolutely.
Right? That are just outsourcing some of the more mundane, rote things that you need to get done. Outsource those things.
Yep, absolutely. So we have about 2 minutes left. We didn't want to go beyond 30 minutes.
Yeah.
If there's any other question, you guys can pop it in the chat. If you are watching this video and it's after 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Monday, your team replay, right? Your hashtag team replay.
Yeah.
But if there's any last questions, you guys can pop it in the chat right now before we wrap up.
I want to just close with one last thought. There's actually a post, if you go under my profile and go down, that I made recently where essentially I was saying, people say time is equal to money, but time is more valuable than money. And really, what you can do is use your money to buy back some time. I remember when I started out as in our law firm, as soon as I could, I hired a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could have done that work. I knew how to do it, and I could have expanded my capacity to do the work and paid myself more. But it was better to hire someone and then free up 50% of my time, which is more valuable based on my experience level, right? And because I was the CEO and visionary for the company. And so I used money to buy back my time so that we could scale and grow. And sometimes it's that short-term thinking of taking the money in the short term that gets in the way of enabling us to really multiply ourselves and grow our businesses.
That's a good point. And thank you, Catherine. That's a good point. Because this is why I said, if CEOs and founders, if they truly love their people, right? They truly love, it won't be so hard for them to make a decision to okay, let me take even a step back in my own bonus, right? So I can invest in the people, invest in the company, right?
Invest in the future.
In the future. Step is, what I was talking about is the slingshot or bow and arrow, right? Step back a little bit to go further.
That's right. Yeah.
And I just said, what I'm hearing you say may be what CEOs need to understand. They may have been excellent CEOs pre and during COVID, now that we are living in a new landscape of business. Perhaps CEOs need additional training and enlightenment in a new world of work. We don't know what we do not know.
So true.
Andrea, I can't tell you how many times I've had to say, because look, CEOs, man, look, God bless them, right? They started a company, they're visionaries.
That's right.
God bless them, right? The world needs CEOs. The problem, the issue, the challenge that they face is that they have blind spots. They have blind spots, just like we all do. We all have blind spots. But when a CEO has a blind spot, it affects not just them, it affects a whole army, right? It affects everyone in the company. So, an employee's blind spot may affect just his, his or her general area, but a CEO's blind spot can really affect culture. It can affect profitability, shareholder. I mean, it affects a lot. And so, yes, CEOs need to be retrained, because those that are not agile and flexible are the ones that are struggling really, really hard. Yeah. And that's why, Andrea, what you do executive coaching. That's why people like you need to help. Need to help, because it's more of a mind. It's a mind shift change.
That's right. Got to shift that mindset.
Yep. Yeah. And I love working with CEOs because I understand their pain. Having been one myself, right? I know what they're struggling with, and it's just harder times even now because the atmosphere has changed so radically after COVID.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, it was a great discussion.
Yeah, I'm calling it CEO Talks, right? So maybe I'll be back again next Monday. What do you think, Wayne? Maybe I'll see.
I'll make her.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
God bless.
God bless.